Gerry, welcome to Fake News episode number 2. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a special guest star, Gerry Vittoratos. Our topic today for fake news will be Trump Biden by November 2020. Now, why do we name this episode Fake News? Well, you know how Trump, in all his news conferences, he basically says fake news to all the reporters that don't give him a good vibe. Now, I'd like to own that and eventually uh, go to the White House as a reporter. And if he doesn't like what I say, he says, "You're fake news." Well, that's us. That's us. And like I was saying before, compared to all the other uh, correspondents out there in social media, we're not on a payroll for neither for from Putin or anybody else. In terms of credentials, we both have a political science degree. Uh, you have a double jointed degree, double
Yeah,
bachelor's economics. Uh,
economics too. Slightly more useful.
exactly, political science, and a master's of tax, which
Yes.
I kind of said, well, master's of tax, but it's still something, right?
Makes
It's
me
still something.
it makes me a one-trick pony. It makes me a
Right.
one-trick pony.
So our topic today, which is completely baseless, not based on any factual evidence other than our learned opinion, and if there
Or
are some
gut instinct. Gut
exactly,
instinct.
exactly, and if there are some Americans that were Canadian, right, or maybe Italian, I don't know. If there are some folks that don't care for our opinion, it doesn't matter, right? Yeah, look at that. We have our names there. That's great. So,
Yeah.
Gerry, the topic is will Trump Biden by then? By then and by then are two different things. And we're talking
Hmm.
about November 2020. So you're taking the position that Trump most likely will have an advantage over Biden.
Yes. Yes. Now again, I got no skin in the game, right? It doesn't really matter. In my case, who necessarily wins? In this case, we're Canadian. It doesn't affect us directly, though it does affect us, obviously, to a certain extent. But at the end of the day, man, Trump is the king, of media. It's as simple as that. Okay, he's the king persuader. All right, that's my feeling, and you see it actually. A lot of people sit there and laugh about some of the comments that he says, some of the comments that he uses. Like huge and all these adjectives that he uses. But what people don't realize that these adjectives are actually just a technique of persuasion. That's what he's doing. That's really what he's doing. And
J-
yeah. Go ahead, George.
Jerry, I noticed that on Twitter, Joe Biden has less followers than my son has, my 11-year-old son has on TikTok. What the heck is going on, Jerry? Jerry.
It's you know what I mean. And that's where the persuasion comes in, right? I mean, Trump. Again, look at the Twitter followers that he has. Half the people can't stand him, but they still follow him. They still follow him on Twitter. There's no such thing as bad publicity. He's proven it. He's proving it. He proved it in the last election. Look. He did every single. We're both poli sci majors, right? We're both political science majors.
Hmm.
He did every textbook mistake that you could think of in the last election, 2016, and he still won. He still won. And what it shows you is that he is going against the grain. That what we learned in school, throw it out the window. Throw all of your old textbooks out the window, yours and mine. Throw them all out.
Now, you do know
Yeah.
that Biden does share one thing in common with us. He is also a poli sci major, a poli sci
Yes.
graduate, right?
Yes.
He
Yes.
claimed falsely that he passed at the top of his class, and in fact, he didn't fare too well, and
Now
he
there's some
probably
fake
fared
news.
worse than we did in poli sci. It's a miracle he's been in Washington for so long, right?
There's some fake news right there. Title of this video, right there. There's some fake news. You know, and I think right now with Biden, it's remember I sent you that Twitter video of him where he talks about certain Can we say that in the video? What he talked about what Trump was
Well,
not doing?
it's a very clean word. It's rated PG. He was claiming with respect to the health crisis, President Trump had no intercourse with the world. I think
Yes,
that a better word for it was interaction.
exactly. But of course,
Interaction.
he's and this is not the only time he's done this, right? This is not the only time he's used these kind of his sentences. His sentences are not structured properly. He's slurring some of his speech, and he's doing all this kind of stuff, and that's where I think Trump is going to get him. Trump is going to nail him on this because one thing that Trump does, we all think it's craziness what he's doing. We all think that what he's saying is just crazy, that it's not measured, and that he's just saying off the top of his head. It's not. It's actually a ploy. It's actually a strategy. That's what he's doing. You know, that's what he's doing. And this, if you want to see if you want to see how that is done, what Trump is actually doing, what I recommend to everybody who's going to listen to this who's going to listen to this video is look at what the cartoons Dilbert,
Yeah, yeah,
George, you know them,
sure.
who creates them, Scott Adams,
Hmm.
you know the guy who creates them.
Hmm.
He had some really riveting videos and analysis on his podcast where he was talking about the persuasion techniques that Trump was using, and he was certain in 2015 that Trump was going to win it, hands down. Everybody was calling him crazy. Everybody was calling him nuts. And in the end, he was right. He turned out completely right.
I don't know what he's doing with the coloring pencil in his hand here, and they do both have a red tie. Now,
Yes.
you know that I do not support Trump. I'm not a Trumper.
Yeah. I,
However, there are some valid points that you've made, and like always, you've met my expectations. Here I am. I was hoping that we would present some fake news. We're doing completely the opposite. I s- you really nailed it right on. Uh, I'm acting like Biden now.
you're slurring your words and you're not
Absolutely,
structuring your sentences. I mean,
absolutely. Uh,
it's he doesn't look
I think it's
like
the
he's
aspartame.
not
It's the
coherent. He's not
aspartame.
coherent.
It's
Yeah.
aspartame. It's probably aspartame.
Oh, it's probably that. Yes, it
Yeah,
fries your brain. You know that.
yeah.
Huh?
That's
Then we'll
what
get
it
a lawsuit from
is.
the aspartame manufacturers now. But, but, but I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it is. And the point is that the Trump followers, they are solidly behind him. So that percentage of the population that supports him, they are solidly behind him. They're not going to go Biden. Biden's not going to persuade them. Okay.
And and
So,
and chances are the Bernie disenchanted Bernie supporters as well are
yeah.
going to go the other direction because there is this
That
claim out there that Obama did this. But Obama bought the presidency for Biden, thinking that he's the better candidate. We'll see what happens. And in terms of track record, what happened? This is what's circulating in social media right now, and I actually censored the last word here. You can use your imagination, you know.
cluster
Uh,
duck.
yeah. So this is circulated by the Democrats, essentially.
Of course, looks like it.
Reagan recession, George Bush recession, no recession with Mr. Clinton, recession with George Bush, and you can argue this, but the other point of view that you can argue is that the predecessors for Clinton and Obama took very unpopular moves to put the economy on a good footing.
Yeah.
Lowering
Well, you could.
taxes, lowering interests,
Yeah.
lowering the national expenditures for social programs. It
Well, yeah. I mean, if you, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Continue.
it basically propelled more people to go back to work. Sad to say,
You,
but it could be the truth.
yeah. Well, you can make that argument with the Reagan with Reaganomics. I know that's a bad word for a lot of people, but in essence, what people forget is, when Reagan took over, you had inflation rates of 15 to 20%, right? And
Hmm.
he's the one who brought that down by simplifying the tax code and lowering taxes, and he had one of the biggest bull market runs ever, right? And he had and the economy grew to the biggest percentage up until guess who? Guess who? The last guy on the square, All right, so the GDP growth, essentially, the GDP growth that Reagan saw with his policies had not been seen until, I believe, again, it could be wrong, and this could be fake news as well, until Mr. Mr. Orange down there, Trump, right?
Hmm.
So so that's essentially. Now what people forget also with Clinton is that he had also deregulated quite a bit as well, right?
Hmm.
And Clinton, a lot of people, a lot of the policies that he enacted were actually very Republican like. That's what he did. Now he did raise taxes, though. I mean, that's that he did do that. He did raise taxes, and but he was very pragmatic. He was not, Clinton was not, your what's called your typical Democratic president. He definitely was not. He was actually very right wing in a lot of ways when he ran for president. Now, you know, the two Bushes, well, I guess mixed reviews, right? I mean, as far as what their policies were, what's called Obama, did have a great growth period, but again, it's only because his predecessor took it on the chin, right? With the Great Recession. I mean, that's essentially how that went. And give credit to Trump. I mean, the economic growth the United States saw was not seen since I believe practically the Reagan days. I believe.
Well, again, I'm not a supporter of Trump. I think one thing we do have in common is that we both probably believe that there should be a minimal social safety net for people
Yes,
that actually need it.
absolutely,
But at the
absolutely.
same time, there should be an incentive to hire people and to make people productive in an economy. Because in the end, that's what makes a country viable. It's not a
Yeah,
large bureaucracy, it's not a large
yeah,
welfare state. It is a minimal effective social safety net, but at the same token, it does not stifle the safety net does not stifle economic growth, and
no,
and it provides motivation for people to be entrepreneurial.
yeah,
Gee, aren't you
yeah,
proud of
and
me?
that is
I
true.
pronounced that close to perfectly.
I think
Entrepreneurial.
the perfect entrepreneurial. There's no French word, right? I think a certain somebody in these pictures actually said that there's no French word for entrepreneurship, right? So
Yeah,
I think a certain somebody said that in this.
I thought that
Uh,
was French to begin with. Yeah.
and but you know what? I think the best middle ground was actually Clinton. Really, I mean, he was the best middle ground amongst all those guys. He was the
Uh,
most pragmatic, and people forget everybody. And it's funny how what's called how a lot of people. Yeah, I love
why are you
these
laughing,
images.
Jerry? Why are you laughing?
I think it's interesting how a lot of people sit there. Clinton was viewed as the super Democrat and everything, but people forget the three strikes you're out rule. The three strikes you're out, three strikes you're out law was actually Clinton. People forget that, and that's as Republican as it gets. That in other words, how many people have been incarcerated now for life because of it. And people forget that with Clinton. People
Now,
forget
you're
that.
you're probably why I did all this graffiti here, right? So, well, Trump, I don't like Trump, and then these two horns look like the devil incarnate. Now, Obama was a great statesman. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
However, although Mr. Bush started the Iraq War with only 150, I believe, only 150,000 U.S. troops, and later they claim people claim that his invasion was the reason why ISIL came about. This gentleman here, although he won the peace treaty, went on to kill more people with drones than Bush ever did. So there were more people killed during his presidency. Mr. Clinton here, with Miss Albright and Biden at the time, they clearly have an anti-Slavic slant, and they blame them for the war in Yugoslavia and the breakup of Yugoslavia as well. All in all, this could be controversial. People might have a different opinion, but all in all, to destabilize the former Soviet republics and to diminish Russian influence in Eastern Europe completely, although they're no longer communist. They might be an oligarchy, but still, Um, they seem to be on the edge of creating wars, unfortunately.
Well, I think pretty much all of them have a war record against them. To be honest, ironically, I think Trump has got the least amount of record as far as any wars that were instigated by the United States. Right, every single one of these presidents has some sort of war that was instigated by them. Right,
Yeah,
except with the exception of really Trump. I mean, Trump, and that's something that he actually did campaign on, was the fact that he wanted to take the United States out of these encumbering wars, and he's probably the one who did it the most
just
out of all of them,
just to
ironically.
recap, Reagan had Iran Contra.
Yeah.
Um, George Bush had the first Iraq War.
Yes.
Uh,
Clinton had Yugoslavia
had Yugoslavia.
and
George
Serbia,
W. had Iraq
Iraq.
number two. Obama, well, I don't believe Obama invaded anybody, but he did have the drone war, and he was responsible for killing, not capturing, but killing Osama.
Mhm.
And although Trump brought the world to the brink of war by killing that general, that Iranian general, he
True.
still, in terms of conflict, he has withdrawn more troops from the front
Mhm.
than uh, and sought more peace, overtures through peace, even amongst dictators and oligarchs, than his predecessors.
Well, actually, Obama, I think what you're looking for is Libya. I think that was the term. That's the war
The spring, the Arab Spring,
yeah,
right?
he had Libya, right? So that where he
Hmm.
bombed. Now, rightly or wrongly, I mean, that's I'm not going to get into that, but in the end, yeah, and yeah, I mean, Reagan had also what was it? It was yeah, I mean, Iran Contra, which was the El Salvador Contras, and it was I can't remember now the other what's called. There was a country in South America, I think that he had sent troops and invaded. I can't remember now which one off the top of my head there,
Who was
but
that?
yeah, Reagan,
El Salvador or Nicaragua?
Nicaragua as well. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So
There
I
were a
mean,
coverts war in Central America at that time.
yeah. So I mean, I think all of them have blood in their hands, but I think out of all of them, really, Trump is the least, and he has brought back more troops than although Obama did too, right? I mean, he
Hmm.
pulled he pulled the U.S. out of the Iraq War, right? He pulled the U.S. soldiers out of Iraq. So that's Obama's legacy right there. But in general, ironically, it's out of all of them, like I said, the guy with the most middle ground, most pragmatic is good old Clinton.
So no
Say
matter
what you will.
what we think about Trump, he's still a contender. Like I
I
said
think he
before,
wins. I think he wins. I mean, rightly or wrongly, again, I'm not gonna say, I'm not gonna put my own viewpoints on that. Rightly or wrongly, I think he wins. And I think again, you just look at that. Just look at Scott Adams, persuasion techniques, Trump. Just Google that, and you'll see some of those techniques that Trump used, especially with some of the terms that he's using. And I'm telling you, I think he's going to win again. And I think it's two things really. It's one, he's got a solid base to base himself on. Number two, I think honestly Biden is not strong enough. I think unfortunately that's what it is. Yeah, I was saying that to all my friends, is that the best chance that Democrats had was to get Sanders in there. That was the best shot that they had. As Sanders to me can beat Trump. Whether you agree with Sanders or not, whether you agree with his politics or not, he was the better candidate. He was the guy who could beat him. Again, what did the Democrats do? They went the middle ground again. They took the compromise candidate. That was Clinton. That was Hillary the first time, and that's Biden now the second time again. And I think they will pay for that again. That's my opinion, at least. That's my prediction.
Jerry, I hand you everything with respect to what you said about the Democrats, but I still dislike Trump, and there's
I
very
no, and I no, but this video is not about whether we like Trump or not, right? This video is who's going to win. Can Trump Biden? And my answer to you is yes. Trump will Trump Biden because of those things. Because again, the Democrats did not learn their lesson the first time around with Hillary,
I
and that
am
was
Still going
You
to take
know.
the devil's advocate, be the devil's advocate, and say that neither candidate is suitable for the United States, and the most suitable candidate is, surprise, surprise, Donald Duck. He should run for president. And I'm pretty sure there is some interest group or lobby that will do whatever it takes to put him as president of the United States. At least he won't be able to press the button and blow up the
I
world.
don't know. I think he's got some anger issues, doesn't he? From what I remember, I don't know, man. You want somebody with anger issues with the finger on the button? I don't know. Just saying.
Well, Jerry, I think we got to wrap it up.
All right.
Unless you have something else to add in conclusion, I know you don't like conclusions. So, from another life, conclusions is something
I
is
like
that's
things
foreign
to
to
go
you.
on. I
Yeah.
like things to go on. The conclusions brings negativity. All right, that's what it is, man. Although I concluded that Trump's going to win, right? So there you go. I made my conclusion there. I think Trump's gonna win, but you know.
I'm saying it's a toss-up. I'm saying it's a toss-up. We can't vote.
Vote.
We're citizens of Canada here in Quebec.
Yeah,
So
but
we should
American citizens can vote. Can vote. I mean, they well, it does have to be a real. They can write in a candidate, right? Can't they?
even from
In the
Canada. That's
elections.
right. That's right. They can.
So there you go. I mean, he's not a real person, but I mean, you
They
can.
should go out definitely and vote their conscience.
Yeah.
So we could say so long to our viewers until we meet again. We might do another joint episode if it works out well. So far, the amount of people that are viewing the majority of my videos fit in a telephone booth. If you remember those things, Jerry, you were still a kid while they existed,
Yes. Well,
right?
they did. I'm an '80s kid, so.
Yeah, and slowly they have disappeared in favor of the good old cell phone. So that's that, and thanks for viewing. Like and subscribe. I'm not monetized, so I'm not afraid of getting demonetized. And like we said before, we're not on anybody's payroll. Although we probably wish we did, right? Guys, if you have any money and ideas how we can make money, bring them
We
forth.
can be
Bring them
swayed
forth.
with special interests. All right.
Exactly.
If there's special interests that have money to spare for us, we can be swayed. All right. Don't worry about it. We don't have pride.
So, Jerry, good night. Until we meet again.
Good night.